Thank you. Feel the love. I just want you guys to know that I also love this jacket. My wife gave it to me. She said, here, put this on and never take it off again. Until you lose that spare tire. We have a good life, my wife and I. Some say that I'm intensely lucky to have a woman like that. And other people say, you're not that lucky, you just married a 17-year-old and raised her how you wanted her. But we're happy together, and we like to travel to different places. Like last year, we went to a place called Ensenada, Mexico. Anyone ever been there? Woo! Viva la Mexico! I love that place. When we first got there, the tour guide said, welcome to Ensenada, the greatest city in the world. Holy crap, he might not be joking. It's a little heavy on the salesmanship, amigo. I mean, I know that Ensenada compares really well to Tijuana. That's true. I mean, and if that was college football, that would be a tune-up game. Easy blowout. But if you want to get to the Rose Bowl, you got to keep going north. So I pulled him aside and said, hey, do you really believe that Ensenada is the greatest city in the world? He put on his sombrero and said, my brother, have you ever been to Cabo San Lucas? You should keep going south and learn not to take things so literal. Like, great. This guy's known me 30 seconds and he already knows I'm gullible. Now, when we were in downtown Ensenada, we had a nice chat with a guy at a pharmacy, and he was laughing about the Trump wall. He said, hey, gringo, does Trump not know if he builds a wall, we'll just use El Chapo's tunnels, huh? He's a little slow, don't you think, I say? I said, well, the ring of power corrupts all who hold it. Smeagol was a nice kid until he held the ring of power, right? So yeah, it corrupts all men, and even elves and hobbits have trouble. And then the guy said, I've got an idea. He could try this. So he pulled out his rosary beads and said, the power of Trump compels you. The power of Trump compels you. I had no retort for that. He made some very insightful points. And then he tried to sell me the rosary beads. For you, amigo, it is almost free. Now, I said, I love Mexico. They have a wonderful family and work-based culture. But they also have this other little thing where an unfortunate percentage of their population looks around and says, wow, my opportunities are really limited in this place. And I'm super broke, so I think it's about time that I had 7 kids from 5 baby daddies. Now, that kind of behavior will put the kibosh on any country's GDP. And it's a little different. We also have that problem in the United States. We're the first world, so it's a little different. In the United States, there's only one thing better than being a 29-year-old grandparent. Just one thing. And that is being a 45-year-old great-grandparent. Because when that baby's born, everyone in the trailer gets a raise. Nothing better than that. Now, you shouldn't say this next part without a trigger warning, so now you have it. Mexico, compared to all other countries on planet Earth, looks the most like the side profile of a catfish. If you don't get that joke, you're forgiven. I was also taught geography in a government school. So you're forgiven, you're good. And it's true, you look at it, the Yucatan Peninsula is the tail, Guadalajara is the navel, and Baja is the giant catfish whisker. And from 1,000 miles up, it looks like the catfish is trying to swim to its natural habitat in Southern California. Now, that's all jokes about pictures and shapes. I mean absolutely nothing by the fact that catfish are bottom feeders. That's just a coincidence. Now, I love that 1,000-mile-high perspective. I mean, from 1,000 miles up, Greenland looks like the best joke in history. Like, I can hear the guy now calling his wife, honey, I just bought a 50-acre ranch in a place called Greenland. Of course with the second mortgage. Honey, it's logic. If it's really cold in a place called Iceland, then it must be really warm in a place called Greenland. Come on. And also from 1,000 miles high. Florida. Looks like a flaccid Nebuchadnezzar statue. It's an Old Testament reference, you're welcome. And it's also a bit of conjecture on my part. In the Nebuchadnezzar story, we don't know what the statue looked like, but what we do know is that it was 10 times taller than it was wide, it was made of gold, and the religious guys refused to pray to it. Yes, Watson, this is a clue. With a slight curvature. Also from 1,000 miles high. Colorado and Wyoming look like a bunch of squares to me. And Utah, my home state, looks like a chip off the old block. Not everyone laughs at that joke. For some, it's just too edgy. I am not too good for a bad pun. No, I'm not. And I should apologize, but we are going to take the corner back from Wyoming. And not just because we love Evanston and Rock Springs, which we do. It's because if any state in the union should be a big square. It should be Utah, right? To my knowledge, no other state in the union has had a government official with the title, the Pornography and Obscenity Complaint Ombudsman. That's a mouthful. So we just called the guy the porn czar. And it's a position that sat empty for 15 years. I guess no one really wanted their hand on the scepter of power there. Or maybe it rubbed too many people the wrong way. That's it. And sadly, this year the legislature abolished the position, which made me sad. It really does, because if there's no porn czar, how are Utahns supposed to know if we're getting good porn? What's the progressive doctrine? You know what? If the government's not providing something, then it obviously won't exist. So it's sad that the porn czar went away. Now, also from 1,000 miles high, North Korea looks like a skid mark. A skid mark right out of chapter 7 of The Road to Serfdom. And that's not very fair to North Korea, because in some places in North Korea, it also smells like a skid mark. So I guess it's a shithole country. Especially when you compare it to a place like South Korea. But you're not supposed to do that because apparently that's racist. I don't get it either. Because I thought to be a racist, you had to be winning a debate against a Marxist. I didn't know. I didn't know that. Now, also from 1,000 miles high, New York is obviously the Big Apple. Right? Anyone ever been there? Yeah. New York? So they call it the Big Apple, remember this? Because compared to all other cities, New York is the most seedy and hardcore. Still not too good for a bad pun. Now, when my wife and I visited there, she was driving and I was holding the camera and taking the pictures, which was a huge mistake. I should never hold the camera. And no one should ever drive in Manhattan. Thumbs down on that one. And another problem with me holding the camera is I feel compelled to give a play-by-play of what I see. For example, I grew up in rural Utah, and we didn't see the same kind of signs on the buildings, like no loitering, no parking, no bitch-assness. Like, honey, can you believe that? And she says, no, I can't. Right? That would have been a perfect place to loiter. And she says, no, what about the spray-painted sign? I'm like, oh, no bitch-assness? That's an excellent message. I have no idea what it means. But it's an excellent message. And then I saw another sign on a laundromat. And it said, this blows my head off. If you don't wash here, don't dry here. I'm sorry. When I see a sign like that, all I hear in my head is a guy saying, yeah, it's just way too easy for this business to make rent. Take your soggy clothes and your dry money and get the hell out of here. I don't need all that. Look, this is one of the most expensive cities in the world. The last thing I need to do is to be chasing around extra quarters. Well, let me guess, that's some change I can believe in. Yeah. Give me a break. At this point, my wife says, honey, focus on what you're doing. I want some good pictures. And that's when I remembered that the rental car had a moonroof. As I did this, my wife was very patiently allowing steam to come from her ears. There she is, true story. All the stuff that I say is true, honey, except for what I fabricate. So she says, idiot, that is the Brooklyn Bridge. Take a picture of the shit. And that's not quite true. My wife is a sweet, wonderful, loving person, and she would never directly call me an idiot. And that's not the best impression. Let me try again. And you guys tell me if she's calling me an idiot. She said, honey, that is the Brooklyn Bridge. Take a picture of the shit. Yeah, that was a closer impression. She was calling me an idiot. So at our first available opportunity, we traded seats in Chinese fire drill fashion to save the marriage. And that makes me wonder, in China, if there's a man running around a car to get away from his wife, do they call that an American fire drill? I don't know. But I know this. If a French boy and girl are kissing and their tongues touch, they call it English kissing. I know that. That's a true thing. So we traded seats, and then we got some lovely pictures. And I hate to say it, but she is somewhat of a picture Nazi. Einen! Shoot the thing! Shoot that thing! Shoot everything! Stop with your bitch assness, or I'll get you a seat on the trains. Or something like that, right? You're welcome, thank you. Thank you for the bit, appreciate it. It's hard to live with a comedian. Now, when we travel different places and wherever I go somewhere new, I like to try the local food. I think it helps me connect with the culture, and if I don't do it, I get really hungry. Especially on a long trip, right? So when you're in Ensenada, Mexico, catfish tacos, man. And then they give you a complimentary water with the roughage at the bottom. He's like a free laxative with dinner, amigo. That's not true. They give you bottled water. Now, when you're in New York, you gotta get a pizza, right? Maybe from that hole-in-the-wall restaurant next to the laundromat that won't let you dry your clothes. Then you visit the other cities, like Philadelphia, where they feed you a cheesesteak sandwich, right? With the sharp cheddar. That's the cheese of brotherly love. Or how my wife says it, that's the cheese that necessitates husband spray. I wish I made that up. And you're in the neighborhood when you're in Philadelphia, so you might as well go down to Washington, D.C., where they feed us a shit sandwich. A shit sandwich. And the crap sandwich is not so bad. They only borrow about $1 million a minute to provide the bread and circuses. So that's gonna bode well. And it's not the only thing we eat when we're in Washington, D.C. You can actually go down to a street vendor and get a nice 100% beef hot dog, where the dog, bun, ketchup, mustard, and relish were all made right here in our country. So you can know you're buying American when you get that hot dog from the little Filipino ladies. Here you go, it's the land of the flea. I'm sorry, what was that? The land of the flea. Oh, kid, you're not saying it right, but I'll help you. It's the land of the fee to pay for the depraved. You'll get it, you understand. Now, I have to say, Washington, D.C. is an amazing city. They actually have twice as many telephones as they do human beings in that city. That's amazing, isn't it? And also, they have twice as many humans as they have functioning frontal lobes. Now, so those 2 points of fact are why when you call a Washington, D.C. agency, you've got to wait on hold for 40 minutes to talk to some guy who's easily hypnotized by a screensaver. Now, when you get that guy on the phone, don't be too mean to him. It's not his fault that he also has the short-term memory of a goldfish. That is not his. It's not on him. You know, oh, this is amazing with the 3D pipes. I'm sorry, what were you saying? Okay, pal, look, turn off your computer monitor and please transfer me to someone at least 5 years your senior. And it would help me if they had a degree in anything other than diversity studies. How long? Yes, I'll hold. Waiting on hold's actually my third favorite thing. I won't tell you what my other 2 favorite things are. But one of them has to do with fried bread, obviously. Now, in our trip to the Northeast, we visited New Jersey, and they call that place the Garden State for a reason. Absolutely beautiful. New Jersey, fantastic. When we were there, I also learned that it was the state where the original mafia was organized. And in a totally unrelated story, New Jersey has the highest average property tax in the country. The average is $8,000 per house. And it has been explained to me that property tax and protection money are not the same thing. It just feels like a shakedown. And as a human, our feelings can be deceptive, you know? Nice place you have here. Be a shame if something bad happened to it. I think the boys and I can keep it safe for about $8,000 every year. Plus a piece of the action anytime you earn or spend any money. Like, thanks, guys, but I don't want that service. Don't worry about me. You're going to pay the contribution or I'm taking the house. Welcome to the Garden State. Now, obviously, I'm joking. All states do that. Now, when we were in New Jersey, I did suggest to my wife we go out to the coast. I love the beach, I love the water, and I wanted to see Atlantic City. I said, hey, we could go to Atlantic City and see all the Monopoly locations. And while we're there, we maybe could share a streetwalker. She kind of did that. She said, ha, 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 ha. No bitch-assness. And that's not what bitch-assness means. I looked it up after our trip. It actually means being a whiny thumbsucker. No bitch-assness. And I found out in my research that the biggest whiny thumbsuckers on this planet are species on the endangered list. And that's no joke. Like the pandas. Seriously. The female panda only ovulates for 2 days a year. And so you get her there, she's ready, and the male says, it's not my type. Fetching what? There are like 9 of you on the planet. Do your job. And this is a dice roll anyway, because if she does conceive, we've got a 50% chance that she at some point forgets she even has a child. Your bitch-assness is gonna get you all extinct. Pandas, oh my gosh. Now that's a joke, obviously. I think we should talk more about extinction. I know some of you think it's a dead issue. But to me, it's not over till it's over. But think about it. We could at some point lose the largest and loudest mammals on planet Earth. The blue whales. Not the feminists. I don't want to. have there be any confusion there. Because the feminists are nowhere near that loud. Come on. And at least half are nowhere near that big. Yeah, they don't sound anything like a blue whale. They're more like howler monkeys. But it's not the same. I mean, you hear these people talk, and marriage is a patriarchal institution. Women only make 77 cents on the dollar, but at the same time, the difference between men and women is slim to none. See, they don't sound exactly the same because they're not the same creature. They just evolved from a common ancestor. The difference is slim to none. I'm sorry, but there are thousands of measurable differences from men and women. Neither good nor bad, just different and beautiful. But I'm going to pick just one that makes us human. Talking. Wait for it. The average number of words used by a male, adult human male, is 7,000 a day. Slightly more for women at 20,000. And that's just the data, the raw data, the numbers. My anecdotal experience says that might not be true in every circumstance. For instance, when I need 20 words from my mother, I get 300 words from my mother. The 20 words are there, I just have to listen closely. And when I need 20 words from my father, I get 5 words from my father. Which wouldn't be too bad if 3 of them weren't pronouns. That makes it tough for the thing and the deal and the there. Yeah. Slim to none. Thanks. Now, I joke about this, but I am a true feminist. I believe that men and women are adult, autonomous human beings and can make our own decisions from day to day. And the women no longer need big daddy government to babysit them and bring them resources. So the meaning to the phrase girl power to me means the same thing as the phrase man up. Equality achieved. So what other endangered species are there? Oh, I want to talk about this, the pygmy elephants. They already had a truncated history. Still not too good for a bad pun. I don't know if that'll go away ever. And I guess in some cases, size does matter. The poor things, the poor deers. Oh, and this species goes extinct. It makes me super sad. Reality television. So not all extinctions are bad. But if they go away, I don't get my dream job of being a reality TV scriptwriter. It's a real job. And it would be fantastic. I would be there in the writing room. Everybody's stoned, obviously. Except me. I'm still the square Utah kid, so I'll be ready and have a bucket of diet soda or something. Ready. And the pitch would come out like, all right, guys, let's have Kim Kardashian walk down the stairs and talk about her $40,000 heels. Gosh, remember last time? And they'd say, yeah, well, what do you suggest? My idea, if we're going for ratings, is to get a good shot of her going up the stairs. And when she gets to the landing, we'll have her say, nothing. Now that's good writing. But don't worry, if I'm in that writing room, I would still have Bruce Jenner in the back of the room, wondering what life would be like with no scrotum. Don't groan. Although I shouldn't have called him Bruce, it's Caitlyn Jenner now. The full reassignment has been executed. I don't know how they do it. And say what you want about her. Going through that surgery takes balls. And we're all kind of mean to the Kardashians from time to time. And some people suggest that they are talentless, and that is bullcrap. It is not true. They are full of talent. My wife and I a few years ago, we're in Las Vegas. It was the same night we saw Brian Regan and Vanilla Ice. So Brian Regan, comedian, telling jokes on stage, take luck, you too, genius. He's fantastic. Later on, out on the Las Vegas Boulevard, we saw Vanilla Ice, perfectly following along with the tape. It's just like you would think from TV. And then later on from there, we saw little Kim Kardashian walking down the hallway of the Palazzo Hotel, bumped into 0 pillars. Wearing those $40,000 heels after 2 martinis, full of talent. I don't know what they're talking about. And then there's one more species I want to mention. But this is a good story. This species has been pulled off the endangered list and essentially rescued from the cold, cruel talons of extinction. The crotch crabs. You're sad they should have gone under? You're so evil. No, obviously their environment was threatened by human activity. And frankly, we should all be a little embarrassed for manscaping. That's embarrassing. No, but one group of environmentalists saved the day, the hippies. The only group willing to put their money where their mouth is. Come on, that's a solid burn right there. Come on. My wife hates that joke. I'm sorry, honey. The crotch crab. Now, the hippies, they get blasted a lot. And I think it's because it's difficult at times to separate the true lovers of the environment from the Marxist fatheads. And that's an important distinction to make because, we need to take care of resources on planet Earth. The hippies care and the Marxists clearly don't. And here's how we know. The biggest contributor to the overconsumption of resources is government debt. And what do the Marxists want to do? They want to borrow a bunch of money and spend it right now to stimulate demand for more resources. And it's a little bit of a taxation without representation issue when you think about it. We're taxing a bunch of unwitting children or unborn children to spend this money. And they get to pay for it later, some of them with their lives. That's kind of a horrifying thing. So the most productive and moral environmentalist policy ever conceived would be an outright ban on allowing governments to carry debt. And then we can get everyone the things that they need. For the Marxists, a history lesson and a psych evaluation. And for the hippies, a shave, shower, and a haircut. And maybe a delousing treatment with the powder. Just trying to help, right? Now, the hippies will be excited about this next story. It is now easier than ever to get legal marijuana. In the casinos, that gets more of an applause break, but thank you. I don't know why. Yeah, but it's easier than ever to get legal marijuana unless you count any year before 1937. You've got to hand it to that Depression-era rulemaking, right? I believe it was the 1930s when they coined the phrase, shit for brains. Now, that phrase was used a lot in the 60s for obvious reasons. But it's important to remember it was coined in the 30s. And it actually started in 1914. The federal government of the United States started a central bank. Why? To stop bank failures and to protect us, the people, from the ravages of the boom and bust business cycle. And only 15 years later, we had more bank failures than ever and the biggest boom and bust in history. Well done. Pretty good. So what did the government do to solve this problem that they caused? They jacked up interest rates and tariffs and tripled the tax rate. The top rate went from 20% to 60%. A little while later, there were a bunch of hungry people for some reason. And what did the government do to solve this problem that they caused? They paid the farmers, obviously, to burn their crops and slaughter their animals. Because when there are millions of hungry people around, the last thing you want is for food prices to drop, right? So, way to go, shit for brains. I wish all that wasn't true. And if you don't recognize any of those stories, I forgive you. I was also taught history in a government school. Now, I shouldn't say that's all bad. In the 30s, they also gave us a nice retirement package. They call it Social Security, very popular, right? Woo! It's got two parts. The tax side, it's a flat tax on wages that hits the poorest of the poor up to the middle class and exempts the wealthy. I wouldn't have gone for that, but people like it. And then it's got the other side, the welfare side, where it's got a pretty good income for the rich and the middle class and a tiny income for the poor. I wouldn't have done that either, but you roll them together and they're more popular than the bread and circuses of Rome. And the program's only underfunded by tens of trillions of dollars. Way to go, shit for brains. And the 30s also brought us marijuana and alcohol prohibition. Now, I understand the motivation. Some people have an intensely low IQ, and other people have a really horrible decision-making paradigm. And these people cause most of the problem by writing rules and regulations. Now, I actually think the war on drugs is a good thing, because without the war on drugs, you cannot have an opiate epidemic. It's like a bullet without gunpowder. You can't have one without the other. See, Frank Sinatra knew. He knew. So I've thought about it a lot, and the most effective anti-drug policy we have would be to stack all the laws, rules, and regulations with the word drug or prescription or controlled substance in it. This might take a while. We've had fascism for a long time. So you stack all that paperwork up and you have a dumpster fire. Problem solved. And I suggest this with the full knowledge that the three most dangerous substances in our country would stay the same. Number 1, sugar. Number 2, socialism. And number 3, the Twitter account for Donald J. Trump. I know some of you have a good memory and you're like, wait a minute, I thought number 3 was keeping up with the Kardashians. Relax, they're still in the top 10. And they could take over the 3rd spot again, because at any point, someone could hack Trump's Twitter and change the password. Now, do you ever say things that make you wonder if you've slipped over onto the other side of a Twilight Zone episode? Like this. The President of the United States is Donald J. Trump. I never thought that would happen. And that point of fact is causing some people to hate. And it's also causing other people to love. And it's causing other people lasting psychological damage. You've probably seen these people online or talked to them. Donald Trump is a fascist. No, he's not. Mussolini cooked up fascism, and what he said was, all within the state, nothing outside the state, and nothing against the state. I know that's a shite Italian accent. Sorry about that. But that's what fascism is, and Donald Trump has tried to lower regulations and taxes. That's like the opposite thing, I'm sorry. No, he is literally Adolf Hitler. Okay? So I guess you want all of us to have machine guns at our house to protect against the Hitlerian takeover. No, only the government should have guns like that. And the government is run by Donald Trump. Who's Adolf Hitler? Oh! Good luck, my friend, in finding the right combination of meds. Whew. That's a hard life right there. And Donald Trump, I mean, some people do love him. He has the support of the vast majority of disgruntled Oompa Loompas. The Oranges are good people, they're great people, they're wonderful people. And I can only assume that some of them have smaller hands than I do. So yeah, not everyone loves Donald Trump, but at the same time, not everyone loves Hillary Clinton. And I feel bad, because when Hillary Clinton talks, the tone of her voice, to my ear, sounds like a dentist drill. That's not her fault. That's a me thing. And she can say something totally innocuous and it doesn't matter, you know. I'm a grandmother and I like to make pancakes when everyone's over for breakfast. The terrorist attack was caused by a YouTube video. You know, at least half the country are deplorable. So Hillary Clinton sounds like a dentist drill. And Bill Clinton acts like a dentist drill. You got a sweet tooth there, honey? Open wide, I'll take care of that for you. Okay, rinse. That one's gross, sorry, Mom. So not everyone loves Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, but I know who loves Barack Obama, the hippies. I learned that on hippieslovebo.com. In certain political circles, that website raised quite a stink. The kind of stink you'd find in any bongo drum circle. I had no idea a website could smell like corn chips. I didn't know that was a thing. And maybe Barack Obama could write an article for Hippies Love BO, and he could title it 0% interest, 0% problems. And if it doesn't work, we'll blame it all on the free market. Or a YouTube video. It's worked before. I'm just kidding, obviously. Barack Obama writing about money and interest rates. That's a joke. That's like Dan Quayle writing a book called The Do's and Don't Nots of Spelling. Now, I know that joke is like 30 years old. But seriously, if you're ever feeling down, this is better than Prozac. If you're ever feeling sad about your life, just go Google awesome quotes by Dan Quayle. Quickly turn that frown upside down. Because it's nice to be here in the great state of Chicago. And if we don't succeed, we run the risk of failure. There's one word on the mind of every vice president, and that is to be prepared. I love Dan Quayle. I think he's a national treasure from the great country of Indiana. And talking about Dan, it reminds me of that great work in the subject of linguistics. Proper Syntax by George W. Bush. Because I'm in favor of property and syntaxes. They help balance the budget. Like, no, Mr. President, syntax, like in the order. Yes, if Congress fails to act, I would definitely sign an executive order. It has to be done, and I'm the guy to do it because I'm the decider. Look in your history books. I was the one that abandoned the free market to save the free market. I'm just kidding. There's no free market. We know that because in a free market, the government could not control money or interest rates. And in a free market, the government wouldn't have any privileges or licenses to hand out. So only an idiot would spend more than a dime on a lobbyist. Joke's on you. I wish I wrote that. But before we get off the subject of great literature, I want to mention the greatest self-help book of all time. 69 Simple Steps to Marital Fidelity by William Jefferson Clinton. Now, it's a good book, but if you're struggling with any of the 69 steps, just send your wife to this address. I'd be happy to show her the finer points. And ease off of that William Jefferson business. It sounds so formal. Just call me Billy. Or Billy Jeff Clinton, I like that. Or just go all the way and call me BJ Clinton. I think that's how they'll remember me. Now, believe it or not, some people are offended by the things I say. And when that happens, I try to help them through the grieving process. Now, the initial shock, not so bad, but getting them from anger to acceptance. Oh, there be some choppy waters there, matey. Ease the sheets and batten the hatches. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So these conversations go something like this. Oh, I am so offended. Well, congratulations. You were offended and did not immediately resort to terrorism. If only all religious and political fanatics were as good as you, the world would be such a safe place. Oh, aren't you sorry? Absolutely. I am intensely sorry that you were offended by a joke. Especially one that was that clever and entertaining. It's horrifying. I'm sorry. Oh, no, you're supposed to say you're sorry you said it at all. Okay, when I dig deep, I concede that I am a little bit sorry, that I am in no way sorry. Because look what we're doing, kitten. By the way, someone who thinks like this should never be called kitten. Don't do that. Unless you're confident there's no carpet in that room. Because their head will immediately explode, and it takes hours to get brain matter and blood out of carpet. So sometimes I do it anyway. So, kitten, look what we're doing. We are all muddling through the mine shaft of freedom. And the chirping canary, the thing that's keeping all of us alive, is the ability to speak freely and potentially offend anyone with an IQ south of Forrest Gump. On a side note, I love that movie, Forrest Gump. It's got some of the greatest movie lines in cinema history, like this one. His IQ is 85, Ms. Gump. The state would like to offer him a job right now. Now, if you're listening to this and you're a state worker, don't be offended, or be offended, I don't really care. But next time you're in your office, look around and realize to yourself that it's people like Forrest Gump that triggered the invention of the state retirement package. You know what the hell I'm talking about. And there's that other great line from Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does. And the more stupid does, the more votes it gets. So, kitten, here's the point. Totalitarianism always seems to start when the truth takes a back seat to what feels good. And sometimes people are so full of their political correctness bullshit that they need a truth enema. Oh, but I'm so full of feelings. Well, you're full of something, that's for sure. I'll get the hose. Easy for you to say, Mr. Blackham. What if someone offended you? That's a good question. When that happens, because it does happen, I explore all possible meanings of the word okay. Nice muffin top, Brett. Okay. Here's a whole pack of Tic Tacs for you, Brett. Make sure you warn us next time you open your mouth to talk. Okay. You know, Brett, if you put some muscle on those thighs and you trimmed up on the up top there, you might one day look like a stork. Okay. I don't want to look like a stork, but okay. I don't mind sounding like a canary. That's all right. So you see the point. Very powerful, this okay word. But what if they're really trying to hurt your feelings? I don't know how you turned into Gollum all of a sudden, but that's... Brett messed up your accent. Well, it is different to be unintentionally offensive versus intentionally vicious. When that happens to me, I have to dig deep and use an ancient Jedi mind trick. And I say, I know, right? And then I go on with my day. Because I'm more than 10 years old and I have shit to do, right? That's how you really know if you're smarter than a fifth grader. I wish I didn't. I wish I wrote this stuff. It's a true thing in the world. Now, I am fascinated by the concept of virtue signaling. Anyone ever heard of a virtue signal? You've lived them. You've lived them. And I'll tell you what it is. You're basically in a group conversation and someone will say, I'm so glad that you started talking about whatever you were saying. I just wanted everyone here to know that I think I am such a good person. Well, thanks for that. Is it okay if we get back to our chat about sedimentary rock formations now? We're good? Yes, you're a great person. That's good. That's fine. So that's basically what it is. And I think virtue signaling can be a great thing in a way. It's a way for you to let the entire community know that you deeply, sincerely, and wholeheartedly need counseling. That's important information for us to have. Come on. Now, a quick example. I was in a group conversation, and I made the point that brothels could come across as more palatable if they changed the language they used. Never again say, we're running a house of ill repute. Gone. Never say, we're pimping hoes. Don't say that. And never, ever, ever again say that we sell the P word. What you do is you say, we are a market-based public service that offers hourly marriage contracts. So come on down to Muffy's Ranch House, where the customer always comes first. Unless you pay extra. I'm sorry. So I told that joke, and the immediate signal from my friend was, I do not believe in prostitution. I do not believe in it. Well, kitten, there's what you believe and what's actually true. And anywhere that they don't overlap is called delusion. Now, to be fair to her, I should not have told her that joke in church. It was an interesting chat with my church leaders. But now at least half of them follow me on Facebook and Twitter, so it's the old win-win, right? Now that's the religious setting. The political setting is even scarier. I was in a casual discussion about poverty, and I made the very salient point, at least in my opinion, that using the government to solve poverty has effectively, over the course of 50 years, doubled the number of people who are in poverty. And I think it's a huge success. I'm not even being ironic. Think about this. There are people out there who can't figure out how to feed themselves. Bless them. And some of those people can't figure out how to responsibly use the genitals. And they have more kids. And the war on poverty gives those people more money. If you do that over the course of 50 years, the number of people in poverty should have doubled twice. We're so good at what we're doing. Really. The immediate signal from one of my friends was, I'm sorry, I have to say something. Okay, Lewis, you have a thought, go. I just have to say that I understand that it is impossible for me to understand the plight of those poor minorities who are non-white. Lewis, did I just hear you say that you understand that it is impossible for you to understand something? Why do I find that so easy to believe? He says, no, I just have to say stuff like this because I live off confiscated wealth. Well, we know that. You work for the government. No, it's more than that. I'm trying to check my white privilege. You are in luck, Lewis. I have the power to absolve you of your white guilt. I can do this for you because I'm a doctor. It's true. I got my doctorate from the University of Zuckerberg. Laugh all you want, but that was a very difficult Facebook survey. Now, Lewis, for your penance, what you need to do in your circumstance is to go find an ethnic minority, preferably one from the top of the victimhood hierarchy, and you need to give them your job. You bring them into your office Monday morning and train them to replace you. And it might be some hard work. And I don't mean to freak you out by that. I know you're only used to working hard during the legislative session. To get them to steal more money for you. Confiscate, sorry. Potato. So you work hard and start Monday morning. You could probably find yourself obsolete by lunchtime. Now, that wasn't very nice of me to say. I'm just kind of assuming this person you found cannot read or write in English. And when you're done, you go to your boss and you say, I quit and I refuse any severance or benefits. I don't want any of that institutionally racist blood money in my bank account. And he says, well, I'm not going to do that. I was just saying. Oh, you were just saying, so I guess you're off the hook. Not a very efficient way to check your privilege, my friend. Not very efficient. And he says, well, I am just concerned about diversity and inequality. I forgive you, Lewis. I was also taught language in a government school. Diversity and inequality are two sides of the same damn stick. If we are diverse, we will not be equal. And if we are equal, we will not be diverse. And look around, Lewis. Some people are very attractive. Most of us are kind of average. And there are some people that should never leave their house without their paper bag. Why would you do that? It's true, it's the way it is. And some people are very athletic. Most of us are kind of average. And some people cannot catch a cold without tripping and falling down. That's diversity. And some people are very intelligent, like 10 times smarter than the rest of us. Most of us are kind of average. And some people think that chocolate milk came from a brown cow. Diversity. Now, I've read those stats. I don't believe the 6%. I am confident at least half of those people are plenty intelligent and capable. They just happen to be stoners. And that doesn't matter too much except for the phrase chocolate milk might distract them. C. Gotta go. Failed the survey. So, Lewis, why don't we let the big boys finish their little chitty chat? We'll get you a coloring book. Yes, we can get you some Play-Doh calming music and a blankie as well. It'll be just like that safe space you had in college. And of course, you can call me Dr. Blackham. Oh, virtue signaling. Now, conversations like this sometimes trigger discussions about hate speech. And I've had people say to me, Brett, hate speech is horrible. We need to have the government police and regulate and imprison people who use hate speech. And they believed in hate speech a lot, so I tried not to laugh too long. 90 seconds, 2 minutes, nothing big. When I came out of that, I said, okay, before we go using the government to barbecue the canary, let's look at the pros and cons, maybe, of using state power to do things that are positive. And we'll do both sides. There's pros and cons. So let's look at the cons first. I think of things like the war on poverty, the war on drugs, alcohol prohibition, prostitution prohibition, or even something simple like World War I and the Peace Treaty of Versailles. And I'm thinking already, maybe we shouldn't use the state to do anything but police and a court system. But those are the cons. Let's look at the positives. You got to look at both sides, to be fair. For decades, the government has been writing laws, passing rules and regulations, and providing subsidies to make college and healthcare more affordable. And that's gone really well. I mean, look around. Is there anything in this economy as cheap as getting a college degree or a surgery? I don't think so. As my friends in Mexico would say, for you, it is almost free. Oh, there's another thing. This K through 12 schooling apparatus. It's the Prussian education model, and it's good. It brought us the greatest generation to ever fight in the German army. And it's been in place for decades. And because of government schools, we, the citizens, are so smart and intelligent that we are around the corner from never needing another welfare or regulatory agency. They're going to shut all that down because of government education. The rest of us do not need government to babysit or subsidize us anymore. So those are the pros and the cons. So I'm thinking the only reason you'd want the state to regulate hate speech is if you wanted more hate speech. And hate speech sounds horrible, doesn't it? Hate speech. So I looked it up. It was a concept that was first cooked up by bureaucrats in the Soviet Union. The font of all good ideas, it turns out. And it leads to things like hate crime, which makes no sense at all. We should throw out anything with hate speech or hate crime in it right now, because if I punch you in the face, it's assault. This is the penalty for assault, done. But there are people out there who think it's okay to punch Nazis in the face. No, it's still assault. You shouldn't go to jail longer because you hate Nazis. It's just assault. And when you hit someone for their opinions, you are confessing that you don't have full control of your emotions, for one, and that you have lost the debate. And when you're dealing with a Nazi, from the 1940s to the sunset of time, no National Socialist should ever win another debate. So do not hit them for what they think. Just correct them and move on. Likewise, this starts to escalate, and then it becomes okay to punch a communist in the face. And from the 1970s till the sunset of time, no communist should ever win another debate either. So if we don't control this hate speech bullshit, it takes us to some dark places where there are groups of people going from building to building, hallway to hallway, and door to door, beating the hell out of college professors. It's not right. Don't do it. Now, one thing they try to do with hate speech laws is protect those who are transgender, which I don't understand. They need to wind back the tape and listen to the offense bit, right? But then again, I knew someone in Southern California when I lived there, and she was an obvious biological woman, very attractive, 8.5 to a 9, nothing like my wife, but easy to look at. When she had her pink bracelet, she identified as a woman. Blue bracelet, a man. Candy cane bracelet, Christmas elf, you understand. And I felt bad for her because when she forgot her bracelets, she was in a eunuch situation. Still not too good for a bad pun. And so interacting with her and living life, I realized that I have been in the closet for decades. And so I'm going to confess to you in this room and to you on camera right now that I, Brett Blackham, identify as a 28-year-old black man. Nobody laughs at that joke more than my wife. But it's true. I love fried chicken, grape soda, jazz music, talking through movies in the theater. And I especially prefer women with huge personality, right? Big personality. At times, I even dress up like a pimp. I got blondes, I got brunettes. But if you want a redhead, you got to sign an insurance waiver. I'm not gonna be held responsible when she hurts your ass, know what I mean? So yes, on the inside, I feel like an E-flat blues scale. But then you look at me and you think, C major. Now that's the smartest joke I tell all night. For those of you who don't know music, the key of C is all ivory, no ebony. It's what's on the inside that counts, baby. So I tell jokes like this, and people will come up to me and say, Brett, I'm glad you have so much confidence, but I am petrified that I'm going to be called a racist or a bigot. by stupid people. And I say, come on, man. Don't debate Marxists unless you're ready to be called a racist. But seriously, never call stupid people stupid. That doesn't help anybody. Don't do it. You could compliment them. It's like, just tell them that they are, 2 standard deviations below the median. And that's a good thing. You're 1 in 17 million. And then you could do some public service, help them find their chaperone. There are things you can do. I have been called a racist before, and I'll tell you how that went. You know me well enough to know that this is going to be fun. You don't agree with me? You must be a racist. I'm sorry. Are you a Martian? A Martian? What do you mean? Well, obviously, only a non-earthling would accuse racism when that's clearly not true. If you know nothing else about me, you'll know that I treat every human being like a wonderful, special, individual person, and not some member of a bullshit group. And only a Martian or a non-earthling of some sort would accuse that with no evidence. I bet you are a racist. Tell me, wouldn't it bother you if Idris Elba was cast to play James Bond? Are you kidding me? I love Idris Elba. He is a handsome, suave, intelligent black British actor, and he would nail the part of James Bond. That would be great. And I love the idea of colorblind casting, because that gives me a better chance of being chosen the next time they remake Shaft. That's right, the name is Shaft. John Shaft. PhD. Or the next time they remake Hitch. Basic principles. No matter what, no matter where, no matter who. Any man can sweep any woman off her feet. You just need the right broom. It doesn't hurt to look like Will Smith, though. Pocket full of $100 bills. Yeah, the right broom, sure. So, kitten, I believe that's checkmate. Next time, don't be such a prick. How dare you call someone like me a prick? Spoken like a true, cisgender, 37-year-old, white, privileged male. Sorry, kitten, I don't think you heard properly. I wasn't speaking as a 37-year-old, cisgender, white, privileged male. I was obviously speaking as a 28-year-old black man. Both times. Hashtag no more bitch-assness. Thanks for coming tonight, guys. Appreciate it. No more bitch-assness. We all go extinct.